It began with a box, a simple cardboard box, no different from the millions of boxes shipped every day across the world. But inside this one, there wasn't just a product. There was a secret, a hidden flaw buried deep inside the world's largest e-commerce system. And for one anonymous man, it was an opportunity to become rich from the very trust that millions of people placed in Amazon. Amazon, a name tied to convenience, speed, and trust. A giant machine built on the promise that anything you want can appear at your doorstep with just a single click. But in his eyes, Amazon was more than a shopping paradise. It was a colossal machine. And every machine has cracks. The first time he stumbled upon that crack, it almost felt like an accident. He ordered a pair of headphones, nothing special, just a few $dozen. When they arrived, he opened the box, placed them on his ears, and then a thought struck. What if I send them back, but not these exact ones? He carefully saved the packaging, measured every crease and corner, and found a cheap replacement item that matched the size and weight. He sealed it neatly, slapped on a return label, and dropped it off. Days later, his account lit up, refund approved. He stared at the rising balance. His heart raced. It worked. The giant machine hadn't noticed. Once could be luck. But what about twice? Next came a camera. This time he performed the ritual with precision, cutting the seal under the yellow glow of a desk lamp, swapping the expensive gear for something worthless but weighty, resealing, and sending it back. The money returned to his account. The real camera stayed in his hands. By the third and fourth attempts, doubt had vanished. This wasn't chance. This was a flaw. His small apartment slowly transformed from an ordinary living space into something resembling a strange warehouse. Piles of branded shoes stacked in corners, designer clothes hanging with tags still attached, laptops still sealed, watches. He's glittering under dim light. To friends, he looked like an online shopping addict. But the truth was darker. Every item there had already been refunded by Amazon, while the real products never made it back to their shelves. He understood how it worked. Amazon handled millions of orders every day. No one could check every single return. The system relied on trust that customers would be honest, and trust could be exploited. To cover his tracks, he created multiple accounts, each tied to a fake identity. Delivery addresses rotated constantly. Gift cards bought with cash became his preferred payment method. He knew Amazon had powerful anti-fraud systems, but he also knew this. If you were careful enough, patient enough, you could always stay one step ahead. One Friday morning at exactly 10 a.m., he returned a camera worth over $2,000. Minutes later, his mind was already plotting the next 3 shipments. The thrill wasn't just about money anymore. It was the sensation of control, of bending an invisible system to his will while the entire world remained oblivious. Eventually, his apartment couldn't hold the loot. He rented a storage unit. Inside, towers of cardboard boxes rose toward the ceiling. To outsiders, it was chaos, a hoarder's nightmare. But to him, it was a treasure hoard, a treasure built from the cracks in a giant's armor. Then came the night that almost broke him. At 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. An email from Amazon. "Your account is under review." The words froze him. Sweat prickled his skin in the cool night air. This was the moment he had feared for months, the instant the giant finally noticed him. He imagined the door crashing open, police storming in, everything collapsing in a heartbeat. But 3 days later, his account was reinstated. No explanation, no consequences, as if nothing had happened. If doubt still lingered before, it was gone now. That moment convinced him, even when the giant noticed, it wasn't fast enough to stop him. And so he pushed further. The money flowed in, faster and larger than any job he had ever held. Friends asked how he'd suddenly become wealthy. He smiled, spinning vague tales of side hustles, investments, freelancing. Nobody questioned it. But wealth came with shadows. Paranoia grew. Each knock at the door felt heavier. Each delivery man's glance seemed suspicious. He began scanning cars parked too long on his street, memorizing unfamiliar faces in his building. He knew he was playing with fire, but he couldn't stop. By the second year, the numbers were staggering, tens of thousands of dollars. His secret warehouse was filled with luxury goods, a fortune built not through sweat or skill, but through a clever manipulation of trust. The victory over Amazon, the feeling of outsmarting a company armed with technology, logistics, and millions of employees, turned into an addiction. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about proving that he was smarter than the system itself. But every game has an ending. The irregular patterns began to stand out in Amazon's data. A team of auditors quietly started watching. Some packages were held longer, examined more carefully. One day, a return was opened at a warehouse. Inside wasn't the $1,000 watch it was supposed to be, but a cheap knockoff. A report was filed. The giant machine began to turn its gears, slowly but inevitably. Meanwhile, he carried on, blind to the tightening net, still printing labels, still sealing boxes, still convinced of his invisibility. Until one morning the knock came, a sharp, heavy knock, different from the usual delivery man's rap. When he opened the door, it wasn't a package waiting for him. It was a row of stern faces, badges glinting under the light. And in that moment, everything collapsed. The boxes stacked high, the multiple accounts, the inflated balances, all of it evaporated. What remained was the stark truth. A man who thought he could outsmart a machine too big to fail. Some may call him a scammer, some a genius, others simply greedy. But his story stands as a reminder. Even the most perfect machines have cracks, and sometimes it takes only one bold individual to turn those cracks into a path toward riches. But riches never last forever, and the final question lingers like an echo. Was the wealth built on deception ever truly freedom? Or was it only a trap, closing in all along?